Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Well, I kind of want to follow up on this previous discussion because I'm also from the West, from Colorado, and I'm somebody who's looked at these permitting issues on a variety of issues, on mining and mineral extraction, oil and gas, and a variety of other things, and nobody wants excessive and unpredictable regulations. No, nobody wants that, and I've worked in a bipartisan way for many years on trying to streamline permitting, but I've got to say, my problem is that talking about permitting reform has become sort of a shorthand of somehow saying if we waved our magic wand and we got that, then we would have domestic development of these rare minerals and other things that we need for battery production. And I've seen no evidence to that effect. And also, my Republican colleagues keep talking about how horrible it is that the Biden administration is trying to move to renewable and clean energy. So I guess my assumption would then be they want to just preserve the current system. But as they admit, under the current system, 2/3 of, almost 2/3 of these rare minerals and so on for the batteries come from China. So if we preserve the current system, we're just preserving this dependence on China. And in my perspective, the only group that's been trying to really, not in a rhetorical way, but in an actual way, develop domestic reliance on the components for batteries and other renewable energy is the Biden administration and the Democrats in Congress in the last session. Because we passed the bipartisan infrastructure law, which put $1.2 trillion into this infrastructure, which included $3 billion for battery materials processing and $3 billion for battery manufacturing and recycling, and more money for EPA to develop battery collection best practices, and also other legislation that would try to increase domestic production and also increase our partnerships with our allies around the world. Because as all of these wonderful witnesses know, we don't have all those minerals in the United States. We have to rely on alliances, and I would rather rely on, say, Australia than on China to help us get these minerals. And so I just think, this shouldn't have to be so partisan. All of us think that we should, I guess maybe my colleagues on the other side of the aisle don't think we need to move to renewable energy and a carbon free economy at some point, but I think most of them do think that we need to do that. And so the question is then, how do we work together to develop these domestic resources? And simply attacking what the Biden administration has done is not going to get us to that point. And so I guess I want to ask you, Mr. Klineski, is how would increasing domestic supplies of critical minerals in the U.S. reduce the volatility of critical mineral prices, and what role will battery recycling play?
Thank you for the question. You made some great comments there, I think, that are really important in the overall picture of what we're trying to accomplish. If you look at having our own supply of material, having a closed-loop supply chain where we actually know that once the material is in the United States borders, we keep it there, we're going to continue to reuse it, and creating that type of environment, we also have the opportunity to lower our costs on how to produce these materials, right? We know that you can produce materials at a lower cost if you have them closer by and you're not having to ship them in from another country or depend on another country to ship them to you. So I think when you look at the overall closed-loop strategy that we've been talking about, it's, again, opportunities in mining to continue to find those materials here locally and make sure that we source those domestically. But also, once those mined materials come out of the ground, that we reuse them over and over again.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let's say we just said, well, we're not going to have any more EVs, so we're not going to have any more batteries. Would that change the current economic situation and the need to have that closed-loop system that you talk about?
I think it would create a lot of challenges if we all of a sudden said we're not going to have EVs. At a broader scale, from a carbon footprint perspective, I think also, again, not to bring up China too much, but China is not slowing down.
Right.
They are not going to slow down. Their goal is to produce electric vehicles for the world. We see that in Europe. We see that them trying to penetrate the United States. They're doing that for a reason, because it allows them to have a little bit more control on the transportation systems. It allows them to have more control on these critical materials, and we want to prevent that from happening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I yield back.